think I freaking saw a UFO. I think I freaking saw a UFO.
Welcome to Remnants. This is Kayla.
And I'm Emily.
And this is a continuation of our Arkansas adventure. If you missed part one, definitely go take a listen, at least even just the first half, because that's going to kind of set up for what's leading into just the rest of our trip. Mm-hmm. I guess before we get into it, do you have any updates or tidbits you want to share?
Well, I had realized when we were editing that we've totally forgot to mention that it's spooky season.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
Welcome to spooky season, everybody.
Woo woo.
And also, like, this isn't so much of an update, but I found this high caffeine coffee, and I just brewed a cup of it before starting, and I did not dilute this bitch at all. I'm drinking it black. So if I start getting weird as this episode progresses, it's because I am all hyped up on Mountain Dew.
Well, and I was just thinking too, like, when you did the research into Tony Alamo and his cult, but I had been with Emily when we listened to podcast episodes, so it wasn't new to me. What I'm going to talk about, I researched solely on my own.
Know.
So really, you don't at all know what I'm going to talk about.
I'm so excited.
For better or worse.
No, I love it. I'm very excited for this topic. Like, it's one I don't usually, like, look into a whole lot, but I find it very fascinating, so I love that we're going to be doing it.
Yeah, so, I guess a little life update. Not really, it's not a life update, but I didn't talk about it in part one. So I recently went to, like, Vegas for a work conference, and I'm very sad because apparently Vegas is where all the ghost hunters live, and I did not see any of them. Sam and Colby, Project Fear, even Zach. Love him or hate him.
You know, we should just, when we're done with this
I did see a bus, though, advertising Zach Baggins.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Was it his face? You're just like...
It was.
He was like, there's a demon on this bus.
I mean, it is Vegas, so there might be a demon on the bus.
That is very accurate. I was gonna say, though, you know, you didn't see Sam and Colby, but maybe to reward ourselves for working, we should just go drive all the way to Kansas to a Cinemark to watch their movie.
I mean, I would be down for that.
I do want to see it.
It's pretty cool, like, what they've been able to do. And they're fellow Kansas boys. So I feel like if we could just
they're the bougie
we have
Kansas
to,
boys.
Yeah. But there has to be someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows them. Because Kansas City is not that big of an area, honestly. So I feel like there's a 6 degrees of separation to Sam and Colby for us. I feel like I just don't know what it is. And they'd probably be like, you guys are like 10 years older than us.
I know. You didn't have to. Look, I'm like maybe 5.
Yeah, that's true. I'm 10 years older than them. You're only 5.
I'm like older, but not in the way that's like, ooh.
I think that's why I probably relate more to, like, Ryan and Shane.
Yeah. I relate more to them too, but I don't know. Yeah, Ryan and Shane are much more
closer to my age and generation.
And I feel like it depends on my mood if I relate to Sam. If I've had a Red Bull, I can relate to Sam and Colby. And then otherwise it's like, I don't know, Ryan and Shane are pretty fucking crazy though, so.
They are. It's a very different crazy from Sam and Colby, which is just, I don't know, it's fascinating that, they can both exist in the ghost hunting world. So
and then eventually people would be like, oh, I like Emily and Kayla's vibes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck they are, but.
I don't even know if we know what our vibes are.
Nobody knows.
Speaking of vibes, so this episode's going to kind of take a turn into stuff that we have not talked about before. I don't know, I guess I can tell the story. I feel like, so this is now, so Sunday of our trip in Arkansas, we actually spent the day in Hot Springs. And we had to spend the whole day in Hot Springs because it was freaking an hour and a half drive away.
Sucked.
So, because it kind of would have been nice if we could have gone back and hung out at the compound. But anyways, so then Monday, just some things like, people probably think we're crazy because part of the reason we went to Hot Springs was to see the solar eclipse, which was on Monday. But there was a thing that we had to get back to, and because we were now 9 hours away, like, we had to leave hella early on Monday to get back in time for this appointment on Monday. So we actually didn't see the eclipse, which is kind of funny.
They're like, I'm sorry,
They probably thought we were crazy that we drove all that way and didn't stay, but anyways. It actually kind of worked out because then more people were coming in that day for the trip, and so space would have been really tight. So it actually kind of worked out great that, like, we left because new people were coming, because the rest of the group was staying for the full week.
we were just doing that to help them.
So we literally had to leave at 5 a.m. on Monday because the drive was so far. So it is still fully nighttime. Like, you can still see all the stars. Like, the sun has not started rising at all. Like, it is very early. And as we've said in part 1, it was hella dark.
It's dark.
Like, we are deep in the woods of Arkansas. And so we're driving out of the compound, and we're on this, like, 2-mile stretch before we even get to the sort of highway, country road. And we see this, like, flash of light in the forest to our left. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, it was so bright. It illuminated the whole area.
It was crazy.
And we're, like, talking about that, like, what?
Yeah, we're like, was that, like, lightning?
Lightning? Yeah, that's the way I thought. So I think Emily looked it up because I'm driving, and she was like, is it going to storm? Like, we thought it was a flash of lightning. And then it happens again, but differently. Then it's this beam of light that's up. Like, so before, the first flash was, like, out. I know. The first flash was, like, outwards. The second flash was, like, upwards. And it was just so quick. And we were just, like, dumbfounded, like, speechless. Like, what is that? And like I said, there's no houses. There are no people. There is nothing around us.
Yeah, and I've literally never seen anything like that. And I've been camping. I've been to the woods. Mm-hmm. I've been, places like that in the middle of the night or early in the morning. And, like, it wasn't during any hunting season or anything like that. Because I know, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, I know we kind of asked a couple people, and they were like, oh, it's a hunter. I'm like, no.
I did look into, I did look up the Arkansas hunting season schedule because it could have been, like, because I guess a thing now with hunting is these drones that have lights. But what is just weird is that they were just flashes. Like, wouldn't they, right. I mean, hunters, if you hunt, let us know, like, why would you just flash a light? Like, wouldn't you actually be on for a little bit if you're trying to see?
And it was, like, a bizarre level of, like...
And it was so intense. I mean, this lit up
right
the whole, like, area and sky. It was...
Yeah, which, to be fair, I haven't really seen...
A drone one?
Yeah, drones to the point to know what the light looked like, but it was one of those things that happens where you're just, like... That was really weird, and I don't have an explanation for it that I feel like justifies
the intensity of
and the placement and how quickly it moved, because it was it was somewhere else. I think the second time
it was like it wasn't in the same spot. But going back to the hunting schedule, so turkey hunting started the next week in April, so it shouldn't have been going on that particular day. Light geese hunting season was still going on, so it's possible if as hunters they could have been hunting light geese. Also, you can hunt coyotes and feral hogs year round.
Okay.
So there is some possibility it was hunting.
One observation though is it could have been bow hunting, so there's that, but we heard no gunshots.
That's true, too. Like, and the whole time we were there, we never heard gunshots, because I've gone camping before, like, during gun season, and, like, I've been woken up at, like, 5 in the morning to gunshots.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Yeah,
right.
So it very well could have been bow hunting, so that's a possibility, but I don't know.
We were just so remote. Yeah. Like, oh my God.
I think the place we were at was technically a hunting lodge, but it was all private property around it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it was odd. I'll say that much.
So it got us being like, I think we just freaking saw a UFO. Yeah. Like, unexplained lights in the sky.
A ULO.
Unidentified light.
Object. ULO.
ULO. And then in Jump City, we saw UDOs.
Yeah, so many unidentified
Objects.
With my coffee cup, there it is.
So then that sent us down this path of like, we gotta talk about aliens.
We did the exact same thing. We looked up podcasts, listened to on the drive.
We did. We listened to a couple. We found this like Arkansas-based podcast, and they did an episode on, there are some episodes on UFOs. So I'm going to set the scene, kind of explaining more the terrain of where we were in Arkansas. Because a lot of times you hear about the Ozarks, and that's kind of, the Ozarks are like southern Missouri and into northern Arkansas, but we were further south. So we were in the Ouachitas. Which is not at all spelled how it looks. It's Ouachita, but it's pronounced Ouachita.
Yeah, I saw that on the map, and I had no idea how to pronounce it, so.
I had to look it up. So it's a mountain range that's in like western Arkansas and goes into southeastern Oklahoma. And so we were kind of like right on the southern edge of the Ouachita Mountains.
Okay.
Near Amity, Arkansas.
Yay.
And just kind of like, so together, like the Ozarks and the Ouachitas they're called the U.S. Interior Highlands, and they're like the only mountain region between the Appalachians and the Rockies. So
I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
So that's kind of cool. And the Ouachitas are also known to have the world's finest quartz, especially around Mount Ida, which is the quartz capital of the world.
I had no idea.
And, quartz has strong energy and, like, powers.
I wish we would have known to, like, buy local quartz or something.
I know. We even were in, we did go to, like, a rock shop in Hot Springs. I was hella poor, so I couldn't buy anything.
I was hella poor, too, and I bought things, and you know what? I lost the earring I bought there. It, like, fell in the freaking sink.
Aww.
Yeah. So, I did buy Ash a stuffed animal that he's still
it was so cute.
It's puppy.
But the thing is, like, this was not a podcast trip we went on. So,
again.
We were like, I probably would have bought, like, some quartz if I had known, but we're now doing the research after our trip.
Yeah. Like, damn it.
So, yeah. But there are a lot of UFOs in the areas of the Ozarks and the Ouachita Mountains. But I'm going to focus more on the sightings that happen, like, where we were in the Ouachitas, because the Ozarks, man, I think that can be its whole series.
I think it needs to be.
Because there's cryptids, there's paranormal, there's UFOs, like, because I learned something interesting. Have you heard about the 37th parallel north?
No. I don't know
so
what that is.
It's like a line, like, a parallel line. It goes around the whole world.
Okay.
And it runs through southern Missouri, the Ozarks, and there's just, like, this line, like, all over the world has a lot of UFO sightings. The 37th parallel north, it's roughly the northern limit of the visibility of Canopus, which is the second brightest star in the sky. So that's cool. I don't know if that has anything to do with
I don't know
why it might have more UFO sightings, but there's just so much, like, phenomena that happen along this line all over the world. Strange flying objects, tons of mutilated cows and horses have been found along this line.
So bizarre.
Yeah, just unexplained lights, alleged underground military installations. So just, like, all the crazy things. But that's, like, a topic that I'll probably, like, we'll research and focus on more when we do the Ozarks. But I just, like, I'd never heard of the 37th parallel north, and it's like,
I didn't either.
It's a whole, there's tons of books and articles and podcasts and stuff on it. So.
Like, I didn't know there was anything where there was any correlation to more, like, extraterrestrial activity or something, which is, like, fascinating, because you just think, why? Yeah. Because that's not normal.
Mm-mm.
I mean, obviously normal's whatever, but that seems like something that's worth noting.
Yeah. So, anyways, but save that for later. Oh my god, the Teams notification.
Oh, I was like, what's happening?
Well, I'm having to use my work laptop today because my...
we both got so triggered.
I know.
I was like, what?
But also, it's 5 o'clock on a Sunday. Who's pinging? Anyways, those of you that are on Outlook can be triggered by that noise. This is now a horror episode. Okay, so back to the Ouachita forest / mountain. So it was kind of a crazy thing that happened. So between 1896 and 1897, the entire United States found itself in the thralls of UFO mania. And this also included the state of Arkansas. So one of the most prominent like UFO sightings in Arkansas came on May 7th, 1897 near Hot Springs. So like right where we were staying. Deputy Sheriff McLemore?
Sheriff McNugget.
It looks like
Macklemore. He's gonna pop these tags.
It does. It's McLemore.
I wish we had like a more visual version. We could just edit Macklemore into this.
Yeah. And Constable Sumter, they were out riding trying to serve a court subpoena when they saw a bright light in the sky that quickly disappeared, just like us. But this is back in 1897. As they kept riding, they saw the light again, but closer to the ground.
That's exactly.
I know. So the two lawmen rode as fast as their horses could go, and they dismounted and drew their weapons to investigate. According to the article in the Hot Springs Sentinel, they described seeing a 60-foot-long cigar-shaped vessel descend with several men shining lights walking around the ship. This is where the story, though, starts to get, I kind of wish I just could stop the story there.
Yeah, they like had a breakdown, like, that's what aliens sound like.
So the two lawmen, they see the pilot and describe him as a tall man with a long black beard, filling the ship with water from a nearby stream. The presumed pilot of the airship came up and asked if the two lawmen would like a ride in the ship, saying that he could take us to where it was not raining. The lawmen said, "We would prefer to get wet." This is all according to the article. And they let the airship go back up into the air, and it was headed towards Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, everybody knows people in Nashville have airships.
Yeah. So
water-powered airships.
To prove their story's authenticity, the lawmen actually swore to legal affidavits of their tale. So, like, they believed what they saw. But they weren't the only people that saw this alleged airship. So, meanwhile, this airship is just making its way through Hot Springs County. And so similar stories were just kind of happening all over at the time. And it started in 1896 in California and continued west. And the phenomenon is actually referred to as the Great Airship Mystery.
Huh.
And some have argued that UFOs in the late 1800s were probably people experimenting with balloons and airship inventions and experimenting with flying.
Right.
And so a lot of people attribute this particular story of these lawmen. They think it was that a man had created a flying machine that it was featured at the World's Fair in 1897 in Nashville later that year. And so he was just making his way across the country and was creating all of these alleged UFO sightings.
Yeah, because I guess you can't spread the story like, I will be flying across the world in my miraculous flying pill.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and that's kind of funny, like, when you hear, like, yeah, we thought it was aliens, but it was just this dude in his first gen plane.
Right, but what's interesting is, like, okay, if that story is true, the, like, Wright brothers hadn't completed their first powered flight of an aircraft until 1903. So, and that flight only lasted 12 seconds and only traveled 120 feet and reached a top speed of 6.8 miles per hour. So was there really an airship built years before that traveled across the whole country?
Right. Like, that seems like it shouldn't be a thing. Like, that's out of the Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Well, and also the lawmen were reported to see, like, bright lights. Like, who had bright lights on an airship in 1897? Like, electricity was barely invented. Actually, the electric torch wasn't even invented until, like, 1899, and that's the first example of a battery-powered light fixture.
Yeah, and that's just, like...
So it's just a weird story, whether I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's either aliens or it's, like, a super bizarre, confusing twisting of the timeline.
Maybe it's time travelers.
It could be time travelers.
I mean, we could just go down a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you'd be in this rabbit hole at all today.
There's a lot of rabbit holes I'm going to go down in this episode. I don't even know what we're going to title this episode because
this episode's titled Lights in the Sky and Reddit.
Pretty much. But another like a more modern and another prominent UFO sighting kind of that happened in the area of Arkansas took place in 1965 in August, so a little more recent. And this is in Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is a kind of 2.5 hours from where we were staying. Okay. So not super close, but still kind of still in Arkansas. But there were reports of seeing a strange aircraft in the sky, and these reports were so prominent because that it drew the attention of Project Blue Book, which was a program developed by the United States Air Force to investigate UFO sightings, which operated from 1948 to 1969. And the Blue Book report on the Fort Smith sightings reported that as many as 1,500 people witnessed the UFO. So, like, the government, like, came to investigate because it was, like, so many sightings in August of 1965.
It's just, I never know what to think about any of that, because I know there's so much that could just happen that you just don't know what it is, or, like, there's so much you can't explain that's actually probably pretty normal, but it's, like, when all the UFO stuff is so widely communicated and there have to be whole departments dedicated to it, I'm like, well,
why? Like,
clearly we're aware of something, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just, like, you know, foreign, like, human foreign technology, you would think, at this point.
Right. So, I don't know. So, I don't know. And there's a lot more UFO sightings that happen, but they're more in the Ozarks. So, I'm going to leave those for another time. Yeah. Those were just the two prominent stories in the area we were staying.
Yeah.
But...
And then ours, obviously.
And then obviously ours. I mean, like...
That's basically the same lawman without the bearded man. Like, maybe if we'd found the light, we would have found the bearded man, and he would have given us a ride. Right.
Yeah.
Keep us from getting wet.
Right. I know, like, a very nice alien.
Very nice. And, you know, usually aliens aren't depicted as having facial hair, so I appreciate the
detail?
Yeah, like, the detail. It's like, oh, he was green, and he had a long beard.
A black beard.
A long black beard. He was a pirate.
I mean, he had an airship.
He did.
He was a pirate.
I'm all for pirate aliens. I love it.
Yeah. That's the name of this episode.
Pirate aliens. And their water-powered vessels.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I still, like, I don't know. It still trips me out what we saw, those bright lights. So.
Yeah. And, like, it's not that I don't believe, like, I believe that aliens are probably very possible, but it's not one of those things that I usually, like, clearly I rabbit hole on. Ghosts and demons and everything. So aliens, I'm like, yeah, that's probably a thing, and I kind of move on. But, like, then to see something is like, that was...
Like, we had an unexplainable experience.
Yeah.
Which, very different from the unexplainable experiences we've had ghost hunting. So it's kind of like trying to wrap our mind around this other, like, supernatural experience we had.
Yeah, it's like, how much... Oh, sorry. How many things are we gonna, like, end up encountering? It's just,
I
like,
know.
We haven't had Bigfoot yet. I almost said Boogfoot.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into cryptids yet.
Yeah,
I mean, we maybe could have if we had stayed out in that
Yeah, I think Bigfoot
forest
might have been watching us.
Yeah.
He was waiting. I was getting some... This is it's unrelated, related. The first time I went and stayed in a cabin with my parents, we were in Big Bear in California, and I was deeply, on a visceral level, afraid of Bigfoot. To the point where I was convinced that Bigfoot was going to steal me through the window when we were trying to sleep. Like, this must have been the first time I was in the woods. I don't know. And we were in a cabin, and I think we got a small one, because I think it was because I was so scared I ended up sleeping between my parents and their bed. But I remember that there was a little window above the bed, and I kept looking up, just like, he's gonna be there. He's gonna grab me. So that
poor thing.
I was scared that the fire that they left in the fireplace was going to burn the cabin down. I had way too much anxiety.
Too much anxiety for a child.
I know. But anyways, that's my fear of Bigfoot.
Well, he's snatching children in the night.
Yes, Bigfoot the child snatcher.
Maybe you just watch, like, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or something.
Maybe, I don't know. I lived in fear.
Yeah. So, the bright lights, like, so I went down the, like, UFO alien route, but then it also, I went down the rabbit hole of, like, spook lights.
Okay. What's that?
Like, oh, you don't know about
I don't
spook
know what a
lights?
spook light is.
So, they're, like, where people see, like, mysterious floating glowing lights that are tied to tied to the paranormal due to them not being, like, scientifically or easily explained away.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a really famous one close to us, the Joplin spook light.
Okay.
What kind of supernatural fan are you? You don't know about spook lights.
No, I know about will-o-wisps. They sound like the same thing.
And see, I don't know much about will-o-wisps, so, we're even.
There you go.
I'm not going to talk about the famous Joplin spook light because that's in Missouri, and we'll keep that for our Ozark series, and honestly, we could, drive to Joplin and try to see the spook light ourselves. So...
Let's do it.
But, there are quite a few Arkansas spook lights, and one is only 40 minutes from where we were staying, which is cool. It's called I want to say Gordon, but it's Gurdon, so Gurdon? The Gurdon light.
Gurdon.
It is a mysterious bluish-green floating light along a deserted stretch of railroad tracks near Gurdon, Arkansas. It was first sighted during the 1930s, and many theories and stories exist to explain the light, including one which connects it to the 1931 murder of William McLean, a railroad worker.
Oh my gosh.
The local legend even reached national attention in December 1994 when NBC's Unsolved Mysteries, the television show, documented the phenomenon.
Interesting.
So the Gurdon light appears along a stretch of railroad tracks outside of the town. Some people believe the light originates from the reflection of headlights of cars off of Interstate 30. So that's what a lot of these spook lights, people think it's just headlights. But this site is more than 2 miles from the highway, so that'd be quite a distance. And the light is also talked about as being bluish green.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit different. That's not...
But, of course, the skeptical, that's the most easily explained. Oh, it's just headlights from cars.
Yeah, they just turn blue for some reason.
Oh, and also, the people were seeing this light several decades. I mean, it started in the 1930s, and Interstate 30 wasn't built until the 1970s.
Yeah, so that ain't a headlight.
So, another sciencey explanation is that the swamp gas creates the light, and through the light, that's why it can have this bluish green color.
That's like the dead marshes in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Look at the lights.
Yeah, exactly. Another theory is that the pressure on the quartz crystal underneath Gurdon creates them to let off electricity and produce light. That
sounds kind of plausible.
More than a ghost light.
I mean, I prefer the ghost light. I mean, the quartz is actually still pretty interesting though. So. Mm-hmm.
So the more popular story of the Gurdon light is that it's tied to this murder of a railroad worker. In December of 1931, William McLean, it was a foreman with a foreman with the Missouri Pacific Railroad, was involved in an argument with one of his employees, Lewis McBride, regarding how many days McBride was being allowed to work. This was during the Depression, and the company did not have the option of giving McBride more hours on the job. So McBride became very angry, hit McLean on the head with a shovel, and then beat him to death with a railroad spike.
Oh. It's usually how you settle disputes.
Yeah, so,
casual.
Yeah.
He reacts very well to tough situations.
Uh-huh.
Don't think that's how you get more hours at work.
So that's an actual murder that took place. There's also an urban legend. It's sort of a similar story that it was a railroad worker who was working late at night and accidentally fell into the path of a train and was killed, and it severed his head. Oh. And so the light is from his ghost holding a lantern looking for his head. It's very urban legendy.
Yeah, I love it. It's very Headless
Sleepy
Horseman.
Yeah, it's a little Sleepy Hollow.
She's like, where's my head?
Where's my head?
And then he cuts everybody's head off and tries to put him on his neck, and he's like, damn it doesn't fit, and he throws it away.
Yeah, so it's his ghostly lantern looking
for his
head. So both stories, it's the ghostly railroad worker, it has a lantern,
yeah. But Railmen dying, and, they turn into, just light, the guys with lights.
And you know what? That's the common theme with the spook lights, because this other one is called the Crosset light, and it's also in Arkansas, in Crosset, Arkansas. It's a little bit further away from where we're staying. It's 2.5 hours south. but similar to the Gurdon light, the Crosset light is seen as a floating ball of light swaying back and forth across railroad tracks.
That's kind of creepy.
The most interesting aspect of this light is that, according to several tales, it also just will, like, suddenly disappear as you get closer to it.
Interesting.
The legend of this Crosset light tells the story of a railroad worker who came to an untimely end in the early 1900s when he was beheaded near the track. Some people report seeing a ball of light swaying back and forth a few feet over the track as the spirit of the man looks for his lost head. It's also, apparently that's a theme.
Yeah.
Or it's his wife carrying a lantern looking for her lost husband.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I know I kind of brought up the will-o-wisps, and I didn't research it, so I'm probably going to get some of it wrong, but that's more of like a European ghost story. Like, I think it's very, like, I don't know if it's Celtic much at all, but, like, European, I know that, and they're more like a fairy type thing, but it is kind of a ghost story where people see lights in the woods, and they're actually, I believe, supposed to be like spirits, and their point is to mislead travelers and lead them to their demise.
Maybe that's why they're kind of all along railroad
Right, that
tracks.
I was gonna say, like, it's leading people to it, and then you get hit by a train or something. Like, it's almost the same thing, just in a different location, which is interesting.
I mean, I didn't really research, like, who settled in Arkansas, but, I mean, it was definitely Europeans. I don't know if it could have been Irish or Germans.
Yeah,
or...
so it could be some of the same stories. And then, like, yeah, it's kind of an interesting correlation. It goes back to a lot of these stories seeming to exist everywhere, which even makes them more compelling.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe it's aliens.
I should have gone down the will-o-wisp rabbit hole, but
there's
we'll
so
save
many
that.
rabbit holes. We'll go down that one another day.
But I'm saving the best spook light for last.
Oh,
because I
okay.
feel like this is the closest to what we saw and experienced.
Okay.
And it's called the Dover Lights. So on a lonely stretch of dirt road north of Dover, Arkansas, which is in the southern part of the Ozark Mountains and just north of the Ouachita Forest, so it's kind of in between the two mountain ranges, Dover. Yeah. A legend has remained since the late 1800s, back before there was electricity.
Yeah, so there's that.
And that people see these lights and they're just, no one can explain them. They're a mystery. Many believe that there was a coal mine on the hillside and that the mine collapsed, killing several miners. And the lights wandering the hill are said to be spectral lights, kind of resembling the lanterns used by the miners to illuminate while they worked. Oh, so I guess these lights is like several seen like in the hillside.
Oh my
But this
God.
is a very remote area.
That would be so scary. That gave me the chills.
Yeah, it's a very remote area, and like there's no roads, there's no like,
and there's just a shit.
and then this was happening. They've been seeing this since the late 1800s when there wasn't electricity yet in the area.
So you'd very much think it's just a bunch of people with lanterns just walking. Ooh, that's scary.
And then this legend that predates all the others is that it was a Native American burial site, of course, and that the lights are the spirits of tribal leaders trying to find a way to their people in the next life.
That's really sad.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's heavily Native American area down there.
I mean, the name of the mountain.
Yeah. But then there's like a full like story to this urban legend of the Dover Lights, which I was like, I have to include this.
Oh my gosh,
so so this is the most detailed story told around the area to explain the lights, is that it is a doctor looking for the lost silver mine.
Okay.
And the bad things that can happen when one takes something that doesn't belong to them. So there's a moral to this story too. So the story goes, back in the mid-1800s, an elderly couple lived on what is now the famous hillside next to Big Piney, the creek flowing through where the Dover Lights are seen. The wife became deathly ill, and as she was too weak to make the journey out of the mountains, her husband rode off to town to bring back a doctor. The physician rode to the couple's home to find the woman near death. The doctor was able to save the elderly lady and stayed out for a few days, nursing the woman back to full strength. The couple was very poor and had no money to offer the doctor. However, the husband was very good at making his own hunting supplies, so he offered the only thing he had, which was 12 rifle bullets. The doctor agreed with this trade and left the couple and went back home.
Okay.
Years passed, and the doctor became very successful and wealthy. And one day he was going through his attic, and he came across the bullets that he had been given. And he thought back to this couple and, thought about the humble trade of bullets they made for his services. And he was like, I'm going to put these bullets on display in my library to just show off.
Sure.
So as he was polishing them, it became obvious that the bullets weren't made of lead and they were actually made of silver. And so he believed the poor old hillbillies surely had no idea that they were silver. Otherwise, they would have sold them to have some money.
Right.
So greed took over the doctor, and he went to go visit the couple to find out more about the silver. And he went out to their home, arriving at sunset, but found 2 headstones side by side in the forest behind the cabin. The couple had long since passed away. But the doctor was just so convinced that the only way this poor couple would have had silver was that if there was a silver mine located somewhere on the land. And so he began searching the land that night with a lantern. The doctor finally found the cache, but it wasn't a silver mine. Instead, it was a crate full of silver bars hidden beneath the home. The doctor rode home that night with a few of the bars, planning to return the next day to get the rest. But the doctor never woke up. He mysteriously died in his sleep that very night. Neighbors now report seeing 2 floating spheres of light slowly wandering through the dead doctor's home. And they also hear faint voices calling, "Where is it? Where is it?" throughout the night.
Oh.
So it's told, so now the urban legend says, if you stand on the hillside and you call out, "The silver is here," those same type of 2 lights that are seen at the doctor's home, you will see them appear on the hillside as they slowly make their way across the creek and up the ridge to where you stand, if you have the nerve to stay standing there.
Oh my god. Yeah, what do you get for tricking ghosts into thinking their silver's there?
Yeah.
If they can apparently just kill a doctor for taking it.
Yeah.
Just that's our silver. Did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy.
But just what makes this story kind of compelling, whether you believe even that story or not, is it's just so remote, and the rugged terrain around where the Dover lights are seen, it's difficult to explore. And so people have tried to find explanations for the lights, but I mean, you can't, there's nothing around there.
No, and yeah, there's so many of those urban legend type things. It's very similar to Goatman's Bridge, but
yeah.
The phenomena of those lights happening in that way exist multiple places, multiple times. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And what is it?
Right, because there's no electricity in this canyon hillside. There is a campground called Long Pool, which is below where the lights are seen on below this lookout. It's kind of an area where there's a bend in the creek. But you can't, and I guess the road that's nearby is called Treat Road, but you can't see the road from this particular site where the lights are seen. So that kind of rules out cars. I actually found this article of, it's a group of documentary filmmakers, that were interviewed because they were creating they have a show where they investigate the Dover lights, and it's called On the Fringe. Oh. And while investigating, the crew saw a light that started out as red and then became blue. The lights faded in and out, but they could only see them through their cameras. They could not see them with their naked eye.
That's weird.
And then the light shot a beam like a spotlight up into the sky. And the crew said they could see it reflecting off the clouds and the mist because it was cloudy this night that they were investigating out there. Justin Miner of On the Fringe, he says he knows people, skeptics and critics, will not believe their story, but he's it's the coolest thing I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes.
And what we saw wasn't that dramatic, but it was kind of a similar pattern.
Right. That's why when I found this story, I was even though it's 2.5 hours away from where we saw our experience, that's still pretty close. And
just whacked the shit out of my cat.
Yeah. It's just...
Percy, sorry. My cat jumped on my lap and I moved at the same time and I punched her poor little face. I'm I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's really compelling, though, that there's so much. And I was just thinking, when you said they could only see the lights on the camera, I swear Sam and Colby saw something like that, too, where they saw, I think they've seen a couple instances where there was like one where it was actual, they saw the light in the woods, and it was very kind of similar, except it was more like
Bobby?
lasting.
Oh, lasting, yeah.
Yeah, and bobbing. I was doing the like bobbing.
Oh yeah, she was doing a hand
hand
motion. So
I talk with my hands a lot. When we start recording all the time, it'll be very apparent. But there's that, and then I think there was one where they only could see it on like their camera, like their regular camera. It wasn't a heat camera or anything.
I say that sometimes happens if with like IR cameras, they can only see like the lights through.
Bless you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's something. Whether it's extraterrestrial or paranormal or scientific, like it could be.
I mean, yeah, maybe there's a sciencey explanation, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Like
it's
that.
We saw something, and it was weird. Maybe it was a drone, but if it was a drone, it was still weird.
And yeah, like you said, it just was like, it moved, and it was quick, and it was hella bright. I don't know.
I'm going to stick with aliens or ghost.
It's more fun.
Yeah, or it was a miner. A miner or a railroad. Yeah. It was either an alien or some ghost looking for his head. Only option.
So I obviously, as I was kind of looking into like lights, like I got onto Reddit. And it led me, and I'm already in the urban legend territory, right. So like I'm just gonna keep going.
You can't stop now, just
because there's this other crazy thing, and this is like in Hot Springs. I'm like, okay. I wish we would have known about this, this tale. So I found it on Reddit, and then I was able to Google it. I'm like, oh my god, this is a thing. So close to Hot Springs, there is an area that trees will not grow, birds will not fly over, and dogs will not walk across, and it is called Hell's Half Acre.
The fuck?
People say that there are supernatural forces at work in this urban legend.
Is it like, do you know the shape of it? Is it like, okay.
So, Hell's Half Acre, it's an area of exposed rocks and boulders in a clearing located on the Indian Mountain about 4 miles northwest of downtown Hot Springs.
Yeah, damn, I wish we knew about that.
I know, it's like, that's so close to where we were. Since the first white settlers arrived in Arkansas, the unique contrast of the blighted rock surrounded by forest has captured the imagination of locals and tourists. In the 1870s, there was a hotel nearby, and guests would walk a trail to see the site. It was referred to then as a bottomless pit. But there's also then all of these fanciful stories about a demon being trapped in the cave below, and it's now like located on private property, so there's no trail or direct access to it. So don't go try to find it. But yeah, one of the like going on the science route is it's theorized to be an extinct volcano, but there's also no volcanic activity in the area, so there's some debate on if that's true. But Hot Springs does have geothermal activity.
Yeah.
And the rocks themselves, they're not volcanic, but they're a form of chert, which is common to the Ouachita Mountains. They've also found a large amount of preforms, blanks, and rejected cores on the site, so they believe it was a Native American quarry.
Huh. That's really interesting. Sorry, I'm like looking at pictures while you're talking. It's just like, damn.
So it's just like very eerie because like it's just this barren area that's like with all this forest around it. So it's probably so this is probably more scientific, but it's.
I love the idea of there being a demon trapped.
And that's people they think demon because like they'll smell sulfur,
right?
Which it's Hot Springs,
yeah. So it totally makes sense that it's probably like some volcanic activity beneath it to some extent, whether it's clearly not a full volcano, but like. That is so interesting.
I know. And I mean, I guess we wouldn't have been able to go to it anyways because it's on private property, but still.
Yeah. I saw this one, like, it's like one of those old-timey postcards.
Oh, yeah, they did talk about that, that they sent, because it was a tourist attraction, so there was, like, postcards.
Yeah, because they were saying it's the crater of an extinct volcano, which, I mean, maybe, but it's not quite shaped like that. I guess it is circular, though.
Yeah, but they talked about, like, there's that area doesn't really have volcanic activity, but also who knows what was happening millions of years ago, you know?
Right, so it could be very long extinct, or it could be where a UFO landed.
Exactly.
And because I've heard that there are rumors that, like, sometimes when they land, they, like, radiate the land.
And nothing can grow.
Yeah, there's just a shit ton of rocks there, too, so it's probably just, like, the shit ton of rocks and the demon buried under the rocks.
But I'm not done going down the Reddit rabbit
God,
hole.
I love this rabbit hole.
This is like ADHD episode.
Let's
all
go.
the topics.
This is ADHD series. Mine was actually more focused somehow. That never happened.
I know, right?
Yours did involve aliens, so that's fair.
This is kind of taking us back to aliens.
Yes.
So we're going to come full circle. So, Nevada has Area 51, and Arkansas has the mysterious blue alien people at Blowing Cave.
What?
Mm-hmm. The popular legend is that the cave serves as an entrance to a secret underworld inhabited by a race of human-like beings.
Hell yeah.
So Blowing Cave is in Cushman, Arkansas, which is just south of the Missouri border. So it's like just over the Missouri border in Arkansas.
So we should go
So
there.
it's the Ozarks area, aliens. When Cushman was established in 1886, people used the caves as like a recreational place, and parties and dances were held there.
It's so scary looking.
So I can see how stories then formed. Like over the years, there's been lots of stories about people entering the cave and never coming back out, which was probably true. So this just developed into the legend that the cave serves as one of the 5 entrances to a secret underworld. And this like underworld legend came about after science fiction author Richard Shaver wrote about an underground race of beings with bluish chalky skin. Following the publication of Shaver's story, a man named George Wright allegedly found a network of tunnels in Blowing Cave that led to this secret underworld that Shaver wrote about. In the 1950s, Shaver, he was talking about this like underground empire, and his followers believed that there's just all these subterranean tunnels in this Blowing Cave. So
looking at pictures of it, I could totally believe it because it looks so freaking scary.
Yeah.
Like it totally looks like the entrance to the underworld.
Yeah.
Like, no thank you. But also, I want to be there. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's there's just reports dating back to like the 40s of interactions with this mysterious race. So I'm gonna like, the skeptic in me is probably like, Robert Shaver probably heard these stories and then created like, a book about it.
Right.
But it is kind of, yeah. Another author wrote a similar story. His name's Branton, also known as Bruce Allen Walton.
Okay.
He wrote about Blowing Cave, and in his book, The Underground Empire, he claimed that he came face to face with a group of human-like beings that were 7 to 8 feet tall. So they're experiencing different humanoids.
Yeah, how are they fitting in those caves, by the way? Like,
well, that's what they say too. It's like the entrance to these underworlds, you've got to go through all these like very small like tunnels. Like it's not in the like main entrances of the caves.
7 to 8 feet tall, how are they getting through there?
Well, they've just always lived there.
Maybe they're like snake people. Yeah. Or they can turn into lights.
Yeah, I don't know. I've gotten very far away from lights, but
no, they
anyways, I just like was going down all these like rabbit holes on Reddit.
Fascinating because
and I think it just shows there's just so many urban legends in the area, and especially somewhere like I think Arkansas probably because it's Native American. It also was settled by European. Like there's probably a lot of folklore in the area that we could probably research.
And Arkansas, like. Just even the parts we were in, the forest, like we said, are just so big and dark. It's easy to make up stories. Like, those are spooky woods. Like, you just look into them and you're like, there is for sure something there. And there probably, well, there is, but like, maybe it's not going to kill you, but it sure feels like it's watching you. So, like, what is it? Like, something's there. Mm-hmm. So I could totally see, like, oh yeah, there are giant blue people in the caves. Underground, there's an underworld, and old men have no heads, and they're carrying lights. Yeah. Arkansas is wild, man.
It is, and it's like, I feel like it's kind of, it's not explored by people that aren't Arkansans.
I thought you said that aren't Arctic.
I was like, why do you say Arkansans?
I don't know.
I don't know how you say there. But
yeah, like, I am so sorry. I feel like my coffee had the opposite effect. I feel like I had no, like, understanding or appreciation for Arkansas until our Eureka Springs trip. Mm-hmm. And then this Hot Springs trip was so wildly different from our Eureka Springs trip. Like, Eureka Springs was just, like, cozy and cute and quaint and, oh my god, I love it, everything's beautiful. And Hot Springs was like, what the fuck? What is this weird place with all its weird monsters and aliens?
And then there's nothing around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was still fun, but it was a completely different time. It was just like, this is terrifying. Arkansas is scary, but fun.
Yes, so yeah, the takeaway is that there's just a lot of creepy and unexplained mysteries in Arkansas.
Yeah, you go to Arkansas, you might die.
You never know what you're gonna see, especially if you go on one of the biggest like solar eclipse where there's totality. You know, you might see like crazy lights in the sky and
keep
get
that,
sacrificed.
Main element, yeah.
Yeah,
the main element of it being an eclipse day.
Yeah,
like there was that whole thing.
Like
that probably contributed to all the weirdness.
I know. Well, I tried to find like, is there any correlation between eclipses and like a increase in UFO activity or even paranormal activity? I really couldn't find anything definitive, but I kind of think that could be true.
I mean, if any of this were to be plausible, I would say that seems incredibly plausible.
Yeah.
Like if there's going to be a correlation, I would assume that a very rare eclipse event would correlate to heightened extraterrestrial or paranormal activity. Mm-hmm. Eclipses are freaking weird.
They are.
Like, what if we had been in that cave, the blowing cave?
We should have.
During the eclipse.
We might. Maybe that's when the entrance to this underground empire opens up.
God damn it, the lights were trying to lead us there.
They were.
I don't know.
We didn't listen to the lights.
Yeah, I don't know if the fantasy world that I want to enter is the one with 7 to 8 foot tall blue people. Although that does sound a little bit like Avatar.
That's where James Cameron got the idea.
Damn it, James Cameron! I knew it. Pandora was Arkansas this whole time.
All right, let's get in the car. We're going.
Let's go. We gotta find.
I mean, you can go into Blowing Cave.
Yeah, I totally want to. With the pictures I've seen, it looks like fucking hell.
Yeah,
it's like a nightmare.
Yes, that's what we like.
Can you imagine doing a spirit box session in the middle of that place? It looks like Gollum's cave.
Yeah.
Gollum lives there.
You know, I've talked to you about this before, not on the podcast, but you can't explore it anymore. But when I was in college, we would go down to Columbia, Missouri, and there's some yelling outside.
Just we had to pause for the screaming.
To the Devil's Icebox, which is a cave. And back then, 15 years ago, you could still like walk in it. And I remember we went all the way to the back of the cave and into this like little cavern room. And there was all these like candles. Like they weren't lit, but like clearly like something culty was going on. And we like got out of there super quick.
Maybe it was just romantic.
It was a lot of candles. And I wish like, I don't think none of us had like, I mean, this would have been like 2008, so we didn't really have
such a
cameras.
I feel like all the cool stuff happened when we didn't have cameras.
I know.
Like, now I can't prove it.
I know. There's some pictures of me at the entrance of this cave, and which is kind of cool because you can't explore it anymore. Apparently to like preserve the bats. I think it's to hide that it's the entrance to an underground empire. To
preserve the bats.
Yeah.
Probably to stop people from getting rabies all the time.
Yeah.
To preserve the bats.
Or probably the satanic activity or something that was happening.
Yeah, Michael Scott did cure rabies, so.
Yeah. But,
that's...
Anyways, but yeah, we can still go explore Blowing Cave.
I do want to go to a cave. They creep me out, but I mean, that's the point. Like, I am always scared they're going to collapse on me. Mm-hmm. My main cave experience was in Carlsbad.
Oh, I mean, that's big famous cave.
Yeah, I remember we literally had to take this giant, like, mining elevator down. It was freaking cool. Like, walking through that whole thing, it was like another world.
It is. I mean, I can see why you would, like,
yeah,
write about, create fiction and stuff.
And then you get done, and, like, that whole thing, you go to the mouth of the cave at, like, sunset, and then all the bats fly out.
Yeah.
That should be our next trip.
That would be cool. I've not gone.
Yeah, it's pretty. We stayed, because I went with my grandparents, we stayed at this janky-ass little hotel in the desert, and then
As you do.
Yeah, and I think that's the trip where we bring it back to aliens. We drove out to Roswell in the middle of the night.
I want to go to Roswell so bad.
Yeah, I want to go again now, but we literally drove out there through the desert, pitch black, middle of the night. I remember it being one of the weirdest situations ever, just driving there through the middle of the night. And I feel like my grandma used to have really bad, like, she used to talk in her sleep really bad. Mm-hmm. And I think this is when it started. Because I remember she was laying back, like, her car seat was down, and she was, like, acting like she was trying to catch things. I was doing gestures, and you guys can't see it, but my grandma was like acting like she was catching things out the window, like she was seeing things and catching them, and I was just like, what are you doing, Grandma? What's happening?
This is gonna be.
Which also reminds me.
Yeah.
Ash scared me, my son, because we were outside. We walked outside a couple days ago, and he was looking up, and he was like, what are those lights? And I was like, what lights? What are you talking about? And he's like, right there. The 2 lights. They look like eyes in the sky. And I was like, what are you talking about? I saw literally nothing. He's like, the eyes in the sky. I'm like, and he's like, well, it must be an airplane. I was like, I don't see an airplane, buddy. And then he was just moved on after he scared me, talking about the eyes in the sky. Yeah. So I think he saw a UFO. I didn't see it.
That's weird.
Maybe his little down angle, little short guy angle helped him see it, but...
Or, yeah, just, I mean, they talk about, kids just see more of that stuff because they're just more open and closer to... They haven't built up all the walls and skepticism that adults have.
We saw something.
Yeah.
It was spooky, but... Yeah.
I mean, we saw something spooky, too.
We saw something. I was like, I'm trying to think. I feel like that's the only time I feel like I saw something that I could be like, I think that was an alien.
It was just so bizarre. Like, when we've had paranormal stuff happen, like, but we're expecting that. Like, this was just...
Yeah, and, like, I feel like we watch enough of the shows that's specifically paranormal that we've normalized it a tiny bit, weirdly enough. But, like, we're not in the world of extraterrestrial. So when we see that, we're like, wait, that does not fit.
I can't compute it. I can't understand what I saw.
We've been dealing with we think human spirits. Who knows what they are? Maybe they are the aliens, but, I mean...
Yeah.
We're going full X-Files now.
I know. Yeah, we've...
Yeah, everything is possible. Everything is real.
Da, da, da.
Or it's the Matrix, like we were talking about earlier today.
Well, I can close out by bringing us a little bit more back down to earth from this advice I saw on this Reddit rabbit hole.
Okay.
Where this Reddit user, I'm quoting him, "My uncle always cautioned me to be careful in the woods, not because of any superstitions, but because of the possibility of running across a meth lab."
Oh. Yeah, I never...
So maybe those lights were the meth lab lights.
That's, a really sobering reality.
Does that make you feel better? Do you want aliens or meth heads?
Probably aliens, honestly.
Right?
Like, I would prefer the aliens to the meth heads. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe those are the 7 to 8 foot tall blue people in the caves. It's just
it's the meth has turned them.
The meth has turned them blue. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of terrifying. That's never something I think to be scared of when walking through the woods. It does not cross my mind about the meth labs, but that's probably a very common...
Yeah, I mean, Missouri, which this is Arkansas, but they're neighbors. Missouri is the meth capital of the world. I think we ship all of our meth to Florida, but we make the meth here in Missouri, so go us.
We're just entrepreneurs like that.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you have too many people bored in the middle of nowhere. They learn how to make meth.
Yeah, it's kind of... I feel like Missouri is a somewhat kind of unique state because it's got 2 big cities. Considering Missouri is really not that big of a state population-wise, but it's got 2 big cities, but they're on the sides. Mm-hmm. So then you've got the whole middle, north, and south that is rural. And...
Yeah, and like Missouri, rural, like it's true, like farmlands.
Yeah.
We were talking about this because we have friends that are really into like the Western scene, and I think they expect that to be what it's like in the Missouri Midwest, but it's not. It's very much just... farms, and you work all day, you go to sleep, you work more.
Yeah.
Or you don't have shit to do because you don't have a farm, you're just broke in the middle of all these places with fields, so what do? Let's make meth.
Yep.
That's how you make money.
And that's Missouri.
That's Missouri, yeah.
Or Missouri, if you're sure.
Missouri is meth and corn.
Yeah, and then you got Arkansas, our
meth,
neighbor.
Corn and cows.
I don't know what they do down there.
I don't know either. Apparently lose their heads and... become ghosts and
wander,
open or start religious cults. Speaking of, I forgot to bring this up, but Tony Alamo from the last episode, he believed that aliens were sent by God.
That's right. I forgot you talked about that.
He I don't know enough to actually cite these correctly, but he cited a bunch of passages from the Bible where he says that God's talking about UFOs and aliens, and he's like, yeah, UFOs are totally a thing. God sends them. So
Who knew that our vastly different topics would have a connection?
Yeah, so, because Tony Alamo says that aliens are real, they must be.
So God was sending us those lights.
Yeah, God did it.
To guide us on our journey home.
Thanks.
Not journey home to heaven, but journey home to
Journey
home to Kansas City.
Well, he only sent it
Don't follow the lights.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Well, it was in the direction we needed to go.
Yeah. I was just like, who knows? Maybe we'll see those lights again and figure out what the hell.
Part of me wants to go stay on this compound again because I'm like, I think it was a fever dream.
It feels like that, and I look at pictures and I was like, oh, it was real. Weird.
Yeah. So crazy. I kind of honestly want to stay there again.
Yeah, I would like to go there and see what people normally go there, because, like...
Yeah, if we actually go during, like, the summer, like, I think we were just there before it opened, so it was made creepier because there was no people.
Yeah, and it felt totally like my whole idea is that some old cult family has kept this compound, and they rent it out to stupid people, and they watch them, and then they choose which ones they're going to sacrifice to their weird forest demon god. And we just luckily made it out in time. Mm-hmm. Maybe we weren't good enough, or maybe we were too good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we were close to getting snatched up for the sacrifice when we were doing our spirit box session, so...
I think it was smart we left when we did.
I think so, too. We would have been...
Because, you know what? We did, like, horror movie... Bad 101. We left. We separated from the group.
We separated from the group. We were stupid, but we separated from the group a lot.
Actually, we did.
We were, like, walking on the lake at night by ourselves. We were just like...
I forgot we did that.
We were testing fate. We're like, this is fucking weird. Something weird's gotta happen. Make it happen. If we went into that church, we totally would have been sacrificed.
Yeah. Like, that's how we passed the test, because we did not...
Yeah. We let the fear get the better of us, so it made us unworthy. Mm-hmm. Luckily. So yeah, that all happened on the same trip.
All within, like, I mean, it was a 4-day trip, but 2 of those days were 9 hours in the car, so it was really like a 48-hour trip.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you go on vacation with us. I think we should become, vacation planners.
I think we should be travel agents.
Yeah, travel agents. Do you want the weirdest, most haunted experience ever? Let us plan your vacation. You will somehow find the underbelly of hell. And then come out happier because of it.
Leave us a review.
If you're still alive. If you're dead, reviews are taken by Ouija board. Ouija board.
It's okay. I'm pretty sure I missaid things a lot this episode, but
I didn't hear it, but I'm also on a Benadryl high, so I don't know anything right now. I'm like...
life is a fever dream right now.
I'm that you should be medicated quote. That's me, except I am. I need a nap. Oh.
Well, on that note...
I can't believe we did it.
We did it. So this was this is... If you just happened to find us for these 2 episodes, this was a little bit of a detour from our norm, but I think it's kind of fun to have a variety of stuff to talk about, and like this is stuff that happened to us, so it was cool to talk about.
And we've talked about this already. This is like the new format we're trying with our kind of
theme,
themes, little quote unquote mini series where we focus on one area or topic, but we can go into it in greater depth. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna definitely be doing this some more. I think it was fun. It's kind of nice to go into it fully, and if we have another trip like this, we might go off the beaten path and do another weird, wacky, this is what happens to us on vacation thing. But usually it's going to be like investigations and things like that from us. But this was fun.
It was. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us get into the algorithm and for other people to find us. So please leave us a 5-star review. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. You just can't type out words.
Yeah, we like the words. It feeds our fragile egos. And it does help. We have gotten some like constructive criticism.
Yeah,
and positive criticism is nice. We want to improve things. We criticize ourselves all the time, but we want to hear what you guys are hearing, what you think we could do to improve things. We want to make it as good of a listener experience as possible. And make sure you find us on TikTok and Instagram. We post all the time.
Remnants Paranormal.
Yep. We're there. We're posting weird stuff. kind of a lot of bloopers lately.
Yeah.
Because us going anywhere is just us being stupid, we've learned.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that.
Yep, and you'll be seeing a lot of content from this trip. We'll kind of be posting it as we are releasing these episodes. So, so for some fun, like, bonus content from this episode, go to those pages and give us a follow.
Yes. We also have a Facebook page now, too. So, for those of you that are on Facebook.
So you can just find us anywhere.
I know. We don't have a Twitter yet, or an X.
Well, because it's stupid.
Yeah, I probably won't, but...
No. Sorry, not there.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess, good luck with the goblins.
Good luck with the goblins. Don't let them gobble ya.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
Peace.